Metroidvania perspective.
Yeah,
either.
like ever since we did have some like bad guy games. For example, we had Hatred, also a Polish game. But you were just a regular dude that went on a rampage. And whenever you played as some creature, it was rather this fluffy, cute, pet-like thing you want to cuddle instead of this humongous, awesome monster that gives you like you can realize this power fantasy of being the horror.
No, I was thinking a little bit of there's the Drinkbox games, what is it, the Outer Blobs from Outer Space or something? This feels like an M-rated version of that, which I'm pretty into. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the story of the game? Does it open up with like kind of establishing who you are, or do you pick it up through the environment?
Yeah, we want to keep it kind of obscure on purpose. We're leaving lots of blanks for the players to fill in.
Yep.
What you saw with the jar sequence, with you breaking out, that's at least currently that's the very beginning of the game. We don't want to explicitly state that you are an alien or you are a failed experiment or whatever. You know, whenever you had this awesome movie villain or creature that was kind of mysterious, it was awesome, and then eventually they do the prequel that explains everything.
Yes.
And it's so yeah, it's not that cool, or so he doesn't like sand. Oh yeah, so
no, it was like when they made a Texas Chainsaw prequel and he's like in high school or whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't need to see all that.
Yeah, or even The Ring, the Japanese one has a prequel, and it's basically high school drama. Yeah. So
yeah, no, I appreciate you guys being vague about that.
Yeah, we want the players to come up with their own theories. Actually, the most popular theory on our Discord channel on our Discord server is that it's just leftover spaghetti that's mutated in this monster.
I think there's a Cowboy Bebop episode about that.
Yeah, as an Italian, I appreciate that. Obviously, I assume you guys are Metroid fans, right? Like old school Metroid fans. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be totally honest with me. How would your creature fare in a fight against classic bounty hunter Samus?
That's a good question. I think the armor is the problem.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Actually, that's a kind of a good segue here. Obviously, we're seeing the monster dealing with a lot of humans. Some of them have guns. Are there bosses in the games? Like any sort of
bosses? Maybe not. At least not now. We're still in the pre-alpha stage. We're still developing the content, so things can change. Plus, I'm also not spoiling some things.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but we do have stronger enemies like armored guys, which you actually can't eat. You can mess them around, but they're inedible. Plus, later on, we have sentry drones, flamethrower guys.
I think I saw a screenshot of the flamethrower guys.
Yeah.
What is it called? Does it have a name? Carrion, or is it?
Yeah, we don't want to explicitly give it a name. We also often refer to it as Carrion because.
Does Carrion have a specific weakness, like fire or ice or electricity or something, or is it?
No, it actually thrives on electricity. It's some of the abilities. The defensive one require you to charge yourself up by grabbing a power outlet and charging yourself up. Yeah, but flames are super deadly. So when you catch fire, you actually have to find some water source as quickly as possible.
So it's like Wario. I like that.
Yeah.
Will be burning up.
Is there a miss Carrion?
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm wondering if this creature is lonely and is looking for
What do you want
love.
its number? Like
maybe. No, I mean like if there's other ones in the world, maybe.
How do you know it's not a she?
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I just hope it finds love someday.
Okay, Ryan, I'm gonna have to cut you off there. When can you're in pre-alpha right now, but when can people get their hands on this? Do you have a target release window?
Sometime next year. We don't have any specific one, except it's not going to be April when Cyberpunk releases.
Yep.
Because we're going to be playing it.
That's a good idea. Yes.
Good answer.
Very, very smart.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming by. I'm dying to just be a disgusting monster. We are going to be disgusting monsters much more after this. That was a weird segue. Lots more Gamescom coming up in just a bit.
Thanks.
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I can't prepare.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you.
Introducing the all-new Up It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Hello, everybody. Max and Brian here. This is IGN at Gamescom Now. We are on the show floor at the Nintendo booth, and there's something very special here. Brian, what is this?
It's a Nintendo Switch Lite. This is not out until September 20th, but there are 3 in the wild right here on the show floor. This is our first time seeing them in person. I will always have a flutter in my heart for brand new Nintendo handheld hardware. These are especially wonderful. From left to right, we have turquoise, we have yellow, and we have gray. These are the 3 Switch Lite launch colors that you'll be able to get on September 20th. They are $199 each. I don't know what that converts to euro, but it's probably roughly the same. The interesting thing about these is that this is a revision of the Nintendo Switch that you've used for a few years now. Adorable little handheld, now much smaller. The other thing is that this is a handheld-only system, whereas the Switch, you know, by name is able to do console and handheld stuff. This is only handheld. You won't be able to connect this to a TV in any way. It also utilizes Nintendo's newer screens, which are a little bit better on battery. It's got a slightly better battery life. Hopefully, a better Joy-Con without any drift, but as you can see, a much better D-pad. We actually brought our own Nintendo Switch into the wild right here. This is the brand new, slightly revised Nintendo Switch that just launched about 10 days ago. Slightly improved battery, slightly better screen, but as you can see, massive size difference between these 2 things. This has the Joy-Cons that click on and off. This does not have any removable Joy-Con at all. I love the Switch Lite. It's really cool. I don't necessarily need one. I have a Switch. You're holding it.
Yeah, no, I think that there's something special about these. I think a lot of people want these because they are like, they're new, they're colorful, they're shiny. I think they're kind of like toys, you know? They're designed for playing with. And I mean, obviously, there's some complaints that this isn't a brand new, fully revised Switch Pro.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever see something like that?
I think we will down the line. I think right now a lot of people heard rumors of a Switch Pro and they thought for sure we'd get some like beefier, high-powered thing. And instead we got something that's like cuter and more toyetic. But you know what? This comes out on September 20th, which is the same day as The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. A remake of one of the best handheld games of all time, if not the best. A Game Boy classic, and I think it's really cool to have a new Switch that's basically like a little Game Boy. That gray one in the corner reminds me of something they would have put out back in the day. Turquoise and, you know, almost banana yellow over here. I love that I'm just pointing with my other Switch. Are like it's just like, they're very classic Nintendo colors.
Yeah, no, I'm very into it. Obviously, this one could be, you know, Donkey Kong's bananas or Pikachu. Yep. What does the turquoise one remind you of?
I don't. It just reminds me like of a nice and ice blue mint or like a delicious candy.
Player 2 Yoshi or something.
Yeah, something like that. These are very like fun 90s Nintendo colors. We've seen old N64 controllers in colors like this. So yeah, this is it right here in the wild. Do you want one? I do. I already pre-ordered the gray one. Now I want to cancel my pre-order, maybe go with a different color.
I want one of these.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that I've barely plugged my Switch into a TV.
Yeah.
I love this. I mean, dare I say it, it feels almost like a Vita 2.
Yeah.
In fun colors. But yeah, I hope they make translucent colored ones. Give me an atomic purple portable Switch Lite Mini, whatever they're calling it. We have so much more coming out of Gamescom. This is IGN at Gamescom Now. It's a really fun place to be. Stick around.
What's up, everybody? Destin Legary here at Gamescom 2019. Matt Purslow is joining me today.
Hi there.
Guess what game we're going to talk about?
I think it might be Cyberpunk 2077.
It is definitely Cyberpunk 2077. You're correct.
That was interesting.
You won. So what we're going to talk about is what they're showing at
shut
Gamescom.
down.
Now, what they're showing is a stealth/strength build, go through an infiltration mission. Take us through the setup to all of this, if you remember.
Right, so we're in a place called Pacifica, which is it's a slightly more rundown area of the city. Now, we all know that Night City is fairly rundown, so this is the worst of the worst, it seems to be. And we're infiltrating this area, and basically the demo kind of cuts between two different builds, so we get to see basically from how you go in all guns blazing to how you go in as a net runner, which is a much more stealthy build. And it was really nice to see the contrast between the two sides that you can play as. I mean, this is just two sides of how you play the game anyway, out of what is presumably a multitude of different types of builds you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we know that you're going to be able to spec your character however you want, and if you don't like that, you can give it another shot. Alternatively, net running was really, really powerful, and I was really, really happy to see that because I love playing stealth. What is your main play style? Do you do stealth or guns blazing?
So I tend to be a bit of a... I'm really into immersive sim, so Dishonored is kind of in my blood now. So I think looking at the way that that Netrunner works was very much like, oh, this is how I want to play. But also seeing strength builds and how sort of like the different, like going in with the different weaponry that this period... I say period, this setting allows you to use. You know, you've got guns that can literally, like, you can tag people, and you've got homing bullets like the gun from Fifth Element, and like being able to do that is like, oh wait, but can I create a build that allows me to do both? And I'm looking forward to trying all of that out.
Yeah, the strength build, he like rips a turret and takes out the gun, and then just mows down the animals basically, that they're the class that we're fighting in the stealth infiltration mission.
Yeah, not actual animals that should be fighting this. So at least so far we've not seen physical beasts in the game, but yeah, it's seeing those animals points out like there's going to be quite clearly lots of different clans in the game and lots of different types of people to fight. So I'm looking forward to having that almost that fantasy RPG element come into it, but through a cyberpunk lens.
For sure. I have to ask you, you know, Keanu Reeves was a big reveal at E3 2019. What do you think of that character and his implementation? He, of course, plays Johnny Silverhand, and he's like a voice in your ear. Do you like that? Are you enjoying that?
So I think kind of like Johnny Silverhand is such an important element of the tabletop game, and so it's nice that he's in there, and I think it's great that they've chosen Keanu. I'm hoping that he's not too much of an overpowering presence, because the idea of just having effectively Neo from the Matrix just keep turning up could be a distraction from what is a game that doesn't have all of the celebrity sort of elements to it. The way that they're using him as kind of almost like a narrator for you, like perhaps even like a Jiminy Cricket that sits in your head that allows you to sort of like, should you be doing this, should you be doing that? As long as it is kept low-key, I think it will work.
They also revealed that it's coming to Stadia here at Gamescom. Are you going to try out Stadia? Like I'm sure you will for work, but are you going to buy one for personal use?
It's one of these things where like I've been a PC gamer all my life, and I've always been investing money into a PC. And so at the moment I don't feel necessarily the need, but I'm fascinated to see the idea of like, can I just stop buying upgrades for my PC and just have a Stadia package? If Cyberpunk runs as well as it should do on the massive data center that Google have, and there's no latency to my personal devices, then I'm kind of very interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cyberpunk, I want that on my PC. I'm definitely, so like I can upgrade my PC. And NVIDIA also revealed that they're going to be adding ray tracing to the game, so I want to be able to utilize those special effects and just enhanced lighting abilities that those cards have. I know this more than anything. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game I am going to know life. It will be the game I play every day, probably for a month. Are you going to do the same?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is it's coming out at a period where the month before we'll have had like Watch Dogs, we'll have had the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It looks like an amazing period for games, but I can see that Cyberpunk is going to be the one that makes you put everything down. It's like, this is the game for the year, and I'll be surprised if anything turns up that is more impressive next year. But hey, it's an amazing time for games. Maybe that game will turn up, who knows?
Of course, thank you so much, Matt. Time will tell if Cyberpunk ends up being that game for everybody. I think we already know the answer. But for more on all things Cyberpunk 2077, keep it right here at IGN and with us at Gamescom 2019.
Hello everybody, Max here. This is IGN at Gamescom now. I'm here at the retro area with my good friend and Nintendo historian Brian Altano.
Hey.
And we are hanging out with every Nintendo 64 controller ever made, I believe. Brian,
this is an incredible collection. This is
one of the craziest controller designs ever, and here we see every possible iteration.
Absolutely. I mean, decades later, the N64 controller is still weird and strange and iconic, but we have such nostalgia for it. Sure, it wasn't really great for 2D platformers, but we didn't really have to get a lot of those. You mostly held this controller sort of, I guess, southpaw. You would put your left hand in the middle and your right hand on the other side, and you played games like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, Mario Kart, some of the most iconic and cherished games of all time. but it's a weird controller. One of the cool things about the N64 is it had 4 controller ports in the front of the system. One of the first systems to ever let you do that. And so that made people like me go, I need a bunch of N64 controllers. So what better way to do that than to celebrate just tons and tons of them. Let's start with the gray one right up here. Obviously the one that came packed in with the system. If you wanted a second one, that's what the North American and European box art looked like. Japan got something a little bit cooler.
That's way cooler.
Yeah, way cooler. Down here, we started getting into more of the weirder colors they did. They actually did a lot of these at launch. There was banana yellow. There was this really awesome jet black one.
This was such a wonderful thing that separated the N64 from the competition, is that they were not afraid to get weird and colorful. At the time, you know, the PlayStation was kind of like, yes, here's the gray thing.
Yeah.
You know, and occasionally you'd get like colorful variations, but Nintendo was still coming off of the sort of hype of the Play It Loud era.
It's
and
true.
they're just getting goofy with it.
This was also right before the time before the iMac started doing their thing and having tons of colors coming out too. At launch, there was also the red, blue, and green colors down here. You can see all of their respective packaging. Once again, Japan always gets it just a little bit cooler. Plus it has that tag you can hang like an action figure. I love it so much. Let's take a look down here. This is where things started getting a little more interesting as well. They started doing sort of smoky, translucent stuff evocative of the GBA era and the Game Boy Color era. Lots of, you know, this was the smoke black controller, jungle green, extreme green, ice blue, and up here we have grape, watermelon, and fire, which they look like Jolly Ranchers. Like
I like that they're like, they could have gone with just, you know, like orange, like tangerine or something, but they were like, no, fire orange to go with watermelon red.
Now, I know what you're thinking. You can't play Legend of Zelda without one of the most beloved N64 controllers of all time, and that is gold. The gold N64 controller was incredibly sought after, and people loved it so much. To this day, it's one of my favorites. I actually have one under my desk at IGN. Or maybe you're a Pokemon kid, and you got tons of these different ones. All these special edition Pokemon controllers were available all over the world.
Down here, there's the beloved Atomic Purple.
Yeah, that's another classic color right there.
Everyone wants a Switch in that color.
So let's get a little bit weirder. Maybe you wanted something a little more exclusive. Up here, this is where things start to get crazy. Some of these are incredibly limited. You've maybe never seen them anywhere. I've actually never even heard of half of these. This is the Dai Hawks controller.
Is that a Japanese baseball team?
Maybe. Justco, which sounds like an oil company and probably
Is that like a retail exclusive
yeah,
controller?
I think so. I think same thing goes for Hello Mac. And then down here we have the Jeffrey controller from Toys R Us, the iconic, rest in peace, Toys R Us mascot, who comes back from the dead every couple of years to haunt children with toys.
I remember this one right here. That was for the 100th issue of Nintendo Power.
Yeah, so that was a hard one to get as well. That's the gold controller with slightly different trimming and that beautiful, you know, embossed logo up there. The Millennium 2000 over there is about as peak turn of the century as you can possibly get.
What was the occasion for that, aside from the year?
We're just celebrating Prince.
Okay, fair enough.
Over here we have the E3 Golden N controller. This has to be one of the rarest N64 controllers ever made. And in the back, the DK64 Banana Yellow one, which as you can see from the sort of prongs sticking out, has the weird little banana identifiers on it.
I like it, and I also hate it. It could just be a regular yellow one that your brother got fudgicle handprints all over.
Exactly. This is the red and gray Comboy controllers. Probably never heard of those before either. And yeah, a bunch of more interesting translucent ones. This sort of like icy blue one that kind of looks like cough medicine.
Do you think that glows in the dark?
Yeah. So lastly, absolutely. Lastly, I want to take you guys over here. Some of you may not have been so lucky to get first-party Nintendo 64 controllers. Maybe you gave your brother or your cousin the crappy third-party ones. Things get a little bit weirder down here. Down here we have this, which is the LodgeNet. This actually plugged into your television directly. It was hardwired.
That was for hotels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was where you'd pay like, you know, $13 to play Mario Kart for one night.
Yeah, this had a bunch of games pre-built into it. Now, China obviously has a huge problem with piracy in video games, so the best way to launch the N64 there was with the iQ, a fat N64-looking controller that had a bunch of games pre-built into it, such as Super Mario 64.
That looks like a cross between a Dreamcast controller and a waffle iron.
Yep. And then down here we have a Mario Kart controller, which not too special, but it came packed in with the game itself. And a couple more, such as Clear Red and Clear Blue. Yeah, man, the N64.
That's really cool. I think there's something very special about seeing all these in one place, just seeing the full kind of spectrum of all those colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots more stuff like this here at Gamescom. There's probably too much of it to even keep track of, but we're doing our best right here at IGN at Gamescom now, so stick around. Short break right now.
See you soon.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you.
Introducing the all-new A Bit News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Whoa. Yes, yes, yes.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. Blasphemous is an incredibly gruesome-looking, pixelated game that clearly is pulling from a lot of influences that are near and dear to us. Here to tell us about it, Enrique Colonette and my good friend Brian Altano.
What's up?
This is a game. Can we just like get some footage up real quick because I love to look at it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly gruesome, clearly pulling from some like Castlevania. It's got some.
Yeah, some bits of Metroidvania games, some bits of Dark Souls games. So we're trying to appeal to all these fans, you know.
These are my languages right now.
Yeah.
This is what I like to hear.
No, this is like chocolate and peanut butter. This is a good setup right here.
Blood.
Yeah, lots of blood. Yes. So you showed a demo at E3, which had sort of like a little cutscene in the middle of it, where the main character takes off his helmet and fills it with blood, and then starts drinking the blood.
No, come on. Well, almost, but no. He puts it. So there is a way to make it even more metal, right? But no, it doesn't do that. So that's kind of like your, how you said, like when you have this baby, you take it to the church and you do this.
A baptism, yeah.
A baptism, the baptism of blood.
Wow, it is this is a blasphemous game. I'm into it.
Baptism of Blood almost sounds like the name of a Castlevania or a heavy metal game. Yeah, totally. This is obviously, pulling from classic, Castlevania games. Is obviously something you definitely grew up playing.
Yes.
You mentioned Dark Souls. Is there like a specific era of Castlevania, or like that like was some of your favorites that you could say like you've kind of leaned on for inspiration here?
Well, sure, especially from the from the Symphony of the Night era.
Yep.
So we were deeply influenced by this this specific game. I've been playing it like a lot. I'm a huge Castlevania fan. I have a huge collection. So it was a blast to work on a game that was based on that genre. Like it was a dream come true.
No, that's I'm a huge Castlevania fan as well. So seeing that makes me really happy. The animation's awesome. The pixel art is amazing.
Yeah.
Were there any other sort of things from pop culture that inspired the look of this game? Obviously, there's a lot of almost classic paintings, almost like crucifixion paintings. Like
yeah, actually, we're coming from a city in South Spain, which is called Sevilla, and we have been deeply influenced by religious themes and traditions, but they are like more old traditions, music, paintings, and writing. But at some point we thought, okay, we've seen like Japanese and Chinese doing these games with their traditions, like turning this folklore into games. Why don't do something similar with the Spanish one? It's dark as hell. I mean, Sevilla was the headquarters for the Spanish Inquisition, so we had all the references around the corner.
Now we're both art school guys. I'm curious, was there any specific art that you pulled from? Because there's no shortage of like religious art out there.
What do you mean with that?
Just like paintings or
well, maybe painters like Murillo or Goya, which are Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I totally see that now.
Yeah, the day we release the art book, people will see like concept art that look, I mean, like real paintings. Although we had to turn that into pixel art, so we lose a lot of detail in that.
Well,
in that transition.
I would argue that you do gain a lot of detail in a different direction, because that's like traditionally pixel art up until things started to get a little bit more horrific with stuff like Castlevania was like hoppy boppy, fun platforming, colorful, vibrant, kids stuff. And so to take a lot of those themes and bring them over here, it's very wonderful to see. Now, tell me about the character a little bit, because I really dig what's going on with this dude. He has this cone-head that's surrounded in a crown of thorns, almost.
Yes.
Like he's a very tortured soul. Is he okay?
So no, probably not. So he doesn't talk too much in the game. Actually, it's one of those mute characters. So things happen around him. So you are the penitent one. So you are the last member of a brotherhood called the Brotherhood of the Silent Sorrow.
Oh.
And you are in a mission to find the source of this evil thing that floats around the world of Custodia, which is the place where the action is taking place. So you had to find the source of this thing, which we call the miracle, which is something that it's kind of like the Force in Star Wars. It affects everything and everyone in the world in different ways.
Oh, wow.
So you have to find that, well, do something with that, because that's a spoiler.
Oh, that's awesome. Now we saw wall jumping there.
Yes.
Obviously, verticality and traversal play a huge role in games like this. What sort of maneuvers can players expect to unlock throughout the game?
Yeah,
without spoiling too much, of course.
No, that's fine. We feature like a wide variety of combat mechanics, because we figured out that was kind of like one of the most important pillars of the game. But also we feature some vertical mechanics, like for example wall climbing. Since the game is non-linear and you can revisit areas, since it's taking inspiration from Metroidvania games. We needed some ways to explore the way more deeply. Like for example, in this specific area, we introduced this mechanic. But what else do we have? I cannot remember. We could do. Shit. Now everything is coming to my mind, and I don't know where to start.
No, it's totally cool, man.
But yeah, we have our big pillar was the combat, but also we have exploration. So the game really rewards exploration. If you're struggling with one area, you can just say, okay, I'm done with this area. I want to backtrack, and that's it. I want to get better. I want to improve my character. I want to get upgrades, and then maybe later I will come back to to kill those guys and get to the top.
Awesome. Now, earlier we saw sort of a cutscene, this like beautiful animated thing, which felt more like it felt more like something from like another world. Like it was very
like literally another world the game, or
no, well, I meant another world the game, but it's not the kind of thing we usually see in Metroidvanias. I feel like usually all the kind of storytelling is done through sort of like lower third, dialogue boxes.
Yeah.
How frequently does that pop up? Does these animated sequences happen?
So we feature a few ones. I don't know the exact number, but we have some for the key moments of the game. And obviously, since our commitment was to go for the pure pixel art style, that meant that if we wanted to feature like cutscenes in the game, we had to do it in pixel art. So as well with the bosses, for example, they are huge and they have to be animated frame by frame, also pixel art. So we are not using any hybrid technique. We're not using like fancy shaders or fake 3D. Everything is pixel art.
Oh. Now, one of my favorite things to do in games like this is to break walls and smash into things and open up things. Is this a game you can 100%? Like, is there a percentage counter?
You know, I'm a Castlevania fan, so
of course.
What to expect?
Yes,
of course.
I just needed to hear you say it because that makes me very, very.
So I know how this works. So the Castlevania fans will expect, okay, if I get to the final boss, I want to stop there. I want to say, hey, just wait for me. I have things to do in the, in some areas behind. So of course that's allowed. And
now, I think right here we have some exclusive gameplay of a boss fight.
Whoa!
Is this Our Lady of the Charred Visage?
Oh my God!
Good lord!
So for the
you're fighting this. Who is this character in the foreground? Is that the lady?
Yeah, it's actually like a saint that died at the top of the convent. You find like at the top of the mountain, you find a convent. Here, you fight this final boss, this gruesome final boss. So we feature like around 7 areas in the game. All of them have this final boss that is huge. But that doesn't mean that there are only 7 final bosses. There are other bosses that you find in the middle of certain areas.
I'm overwhelmed with joy right now. This is exactly what I want to see.
So metal.
It's also. Did I just catch like a bouncing the ball back with the sword mechanic like from Link to the Past?
Yeah, sometimes in certain situations you can deflect certain projectiles. I'm not promising you that you can deflect everything. Like for example, that laser beam.
Sure.
That would be too easy.
Or for example, that magic one cannot be deflected. But there are some, like especially physical ones, that you can deflect with the sword. The sword is a key element of the game. This is why we feature only one weapon. Because it's a key element. It's a key narrative element.
We saw sort of a skill tree earlier. Can you talk a little bit about that? If there's only one sort of key weapon?
Yeah, so you find that the sword is called Mea Culpa. which is, I think the translation will be my guild. Right?
Yeah.
So you find these altars along the game, and in these altars you can power up the sword, so it gets a bit more powerful, and also you can unlock new abilities, new ways to express yourself in combat. So for example, you want to unlock the vertical attack, a charge attack, a projectile actually that it's your own blood. Of course, you have to catch yourself and throw your blood. You have also a thrust attack, so you can attack several enemies in a row. Not all the special attacks are convenient in every moment. Some of them are actually will put you in a dangerous situation.
We are so close to killing this boss right now.
Yes.
I'm so excited. This is like one of the coolest. This is awesome. Oh my god.
Oh,
yes.
What is that?
Well, that's not blood.
This is metal as hell. I love it.
Yes.
This rules so hard. How do you come up with a creature like this? Like, what was that, man?
It's around the corner in our city.
Really?
No,
just
really.
like a local dude that's in
things
the neighborhood?
like for example, this one. You can visit some churches in Sevilla that are holding the corpse of a certain nun or priest from like hundreds of years ago. Actually, every year in our cathedral, you can see the corpse, the uncorrupted corpse of one of our kings from like 300 years ago. And it's pretty small right now because it shrinks with the time. You know? But yeah, we are so used to this kind of things, dark things in our city, that we don't even realize how dark and twisted it is sometimes. But when you see the game with the eyes from someone that is not from Spain, you start realizing, holy shit, it's dark.
No,
it's twisted.
I was gonna say, Enrique, you're like a very warm, nice man. You're like jovial. You're laughing a lot, and then you're like, "Here's my game," and it's like, "Oh my god, this is a lot."
Yeah.
I love it.
No, because I in Germany now, so I don't have to behave like a dark, twisted person.
Of course.
Now, I've got to ask you, the game is called Blasphemous. Have you had any, like, kind of...
backlash or something, or problem with that? Actually, we have these brotherhoods in our city with hundreds of penitents that wear these cone-shaped hats, and because that's something that happens in our city every year. We have these parades with penitents. And actually, we know some of them that like video games. I was like, love it.
Really?
Yeah, we love this thing. I mean, because it's kind of like a homage to everything that has been like thrown to us since we were kids. It's part of our culture. It's part of who we are. But we wanted to express ourselves in a way that was not done before. We didn't want to compose a new flamenco song. We didn't want to write a book. We wanted to make a video game because we are developers, and it ended being this, Blasphemous.
Hell yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's...
yeah.
Spanish folklore filtered through 16-bit gruesome Metroidvania.
It rules.
That is badass.
No, that's like, thank you so much for making a game like this. This is like I've been saying, this is extremely my kind of game.
It looks awesome.
Then look, even the map right there.
Yeah,
I'm like, yep, that's where I want to explore every part of this game.
Beautiful. What platforms is it coming to, and when is it going to be released?
Yeah, so it's releasing on 10th of September, like in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, it's around the corner. And it's going to be released on PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. All of them,
Beautiful.
same day.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming by. We have so much more Gamescom coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got
Yes. Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? No, what happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. I'm joined by Jerome and Baptiste to discuss Young Souls.
Yes.
These fine gentlemen are developers on that project, so tell us, what is Young Souls?
So,
Young Souls is really hard for us to pitch because it's a game with a lot of different stuff in it. But basically, we can say that it's an adventure beat 'em up, but with a setting it's set like a classical dungeon RPG, where you have two stations. You have the village station and you have the dungeon station.
Yeah. But actually, the village takes place in a contemporary world, and you have this mix of contemporary world in the village and the medieval setting in the dungeons.
And we have our two protagonists, so I want to dive into their story and what their deal is. But first I want to ask, I've only ever seen footage of Young Souls with 2 characters on screen. So is it a co-op only game? Can you play it single player? How does that work?
No, in fact, you can play it both in co-op or in single player. And actually, even the single player has 2 different modes. So you can play, you can play with the AI that can assist you. And you can also just play by solo and switching between the 2 characters. So there are plenty of different options.
Very cool. What is the name of our protagonists here?
So you got Jen and Tristan. And Jen and Tristan are twin brother and sisters. So they are, those guys are 2, they live in a city where they are not really good kids. In fact, they are kind of outcasts in the city. And from their childhood, they've always been abandoned. They are kind of lost kids. They get one day they met a guy, a kind of old weird professor, and he sheltered them and he took care of them. And he was, in fact, for them the only guy who really take care of them and who they really care for. And one day this guy disappeared, and that's how their adventure begins.
Is this like a Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe kind of scenario where there's a separate fantasy universe that they are able to kind of teleport to? Gotcha. And what is going on in this alternate universe? Is it almost like an upside down, where like there's kind of an echo of reality, but they're...
No, it's the other word is deep underground.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. In fact, in the story we got in the past goblins and humans fought, and humans win, and they send goblins a deep underground. And then goblins, some goblins are forgot about that. But some of them, now they know that at first they own the surface, so they want to reach the surface back.
Gotcha. It's almost Gears of War coming up from the surface. I really like it. Sure. Tell us about the goblins. What is their motivation? And in terms of enemy variety, what are we looking at?
Well, we have plenty of different enemies in the game. It's like we have produced a huge content for the beat 'em up kind of style. And even all the items, we can equip with a lot of different items. We have a really strong customization system on the characters. And there is definitely a lot of different...
And so you as a player should start even a full price, title.
Is on full display. Why don't we go check out what they've got going on and see if we can find any cool cosplays. I'm here with the Witch King of Angmar. Now tell us about your cosplay.
I've built this cosplay in, I guess, 5 years ago, and I've been here every year since, and always had to fix and repair and everything. So there is not really something to point out specially, because it's so much work, and it's still my only cosplay. And I'm really happy to stay here and be at Gamescom, because I'm meeting so many old friends and new friends. It's really awesome here.
How long did it take you to make your cosplay?
Like I said, it's really hard to determine, but I guess it's more than 100 hours.
Wow. What was your inspiration to choose this character?
I really liked the films and the books, and so there was, after I've seen Lord of the Rings like 10 times, I had to build this costume.
Yeah. You wanted to be the bad guy?
Yeah, it's easier. Because you don't have to look after Maurits or some hindrance like that.
Cosplay Village is, of course, armed with its own hospital, which, if you didn't know, is the word cosplay and hospital put together. It's an awesome area where folks can repair any damage done to their cosplays. They even have an artist alley where you can bring your art and sell it, and live creating where people are drawing and painting right before your very eyes. Alrighty, Cloud, you look great. Tell us about your cosplay.
Well, that's like my favorite cosplay all time. That's like every cosplay I made was just to make Cloud someday. So yeah.
How long did it take you to make it?
Completely? A couple of months. Like I work full time, so I have to do this beside my job. Yeah, a couple of months.
So just a pure passion project. Tell us how you made this sword.
The sword is actually, it's really light, and it's mostly made of foam, like from the general store, and it's like 2 weeks worth of work, and yeah, I can carry it easy in one hand.
No, he can carry it easy because you're so strong because you're Cloud, right?
Yeah, of course.
Not because it's foam.
Well.
We have a fan-made X-Wing that I can only imagine is 2-scale. You can even take photos in it. And then over here, we've got a Mos Eisley facade. Again, all of this is fan-made. It is so incredible. And we have a droid. We've got K2SO, and clearly the Rebel Alliance is hanging out here. We even have Salacious Crumb. So that is the Cosplay Village here at Gamescom, and we have so much more Gamescom coming at you. Stick around.
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No.
And can influence cooperation, but we don't have
big giant tank things that have onboard nukes and giant heavy mechs on the ground. So it depends on what kind.
Yeah, that's a little bit our creature. You would go into the game and say, oh, look at that, that's just another animal from this world. So we have to set apart these servants of the cylinder as something that seems totally alien to this alien world, and that was quite a bit of a challenge in terms of design. But for those who've seen the trailer, you can see that there's some things that you a
bit of gross out humor as well. That's
action video
to get overcome the render. You know,
and the books, and so.
For the color version and the Japanese box art for the original version, the best color.
What do we retain that we think is critical?
Tell me more. And the Laylee to my Yuka, Max Scoville.
Sounds sort of right. Yeah.
You're the right color.
Harry, thank you so much for coming. I'm incredibly excited about this game.
Me.
The last ukulele game, I think, was a absolutely beloved Kickstarter success. I would say darling is the perfect word for that. Obviously evocative of classic games like Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64.
Yeah, that's
the new game, which I think was like a total surprise for everybody.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like a complete bonus game that we weren't expecting to get, is a 2D platformer.
That's right, yeah.
So what sort of sparked that decision to begin with?
So Playtonic, we kind of don't want to get stuck in a rut and be known for just making the same games over and over, and we didn't want to just get in that, oh, these are the 3D platformer guys.
100% gotten all 120.
In total, so that's a lot of hits you can take by the end of the game, should you complete every single level and find all of the bees. For players, I think there's only one person in the office who can get through it without taking a hit, so it's it is really, really difficult, but it is possible though. It's called impossible, but it's actually possible. But for mere mortals like myself, thankfully there is another way. So the game has got all these other 2D levels in, and at the end of every 2D levels there's a bee that's been imprisoned, and when you complete the level you free the bee, and that bee will go into the impossible lair with you and take one hit on your behalf. So as you complete levels, you free bees. The more bees you got, the more hits you can take. The more hits you can take, the more possible the impossible lair becomes. And there's 48 in total, so that's a lot of hits you can take by the end of the game, should you complete every single level and find all of the bees.
As the game continues.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of different locations. That was one of the key things for us. We talk
a bit about the
locations, and even as you can see in like a terrifying factory like this, we still try and have it as vibrant and colourful as possible because it's it's a ukulele game. And that's one of the cool things about working on.
What would you do?
What would I do? Another genre.
Turn-based, first-person,
Western.
Yeah, first-person shooter. That'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean, if you look at Banjo-Kazooie, they did that in the past, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So that would work, but I don't know.
You're not on the hook for it or anything, you know. I was just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, a kart race would be pretty cool, but definitely no promises.
Yeah, that'd be a good fit. Now, obviously, this is sort of a hard question when you have the last boss of the game immediately accessible. What's the sort of average play length you're seeing?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to sort of answer that, but I say if you think of like an average player just going through it, an average player at a sensible pace, I don't know, say maybe 20 hours worth of content, and then if you wanted to find everything, perhaps 30, something like that.
Cool.
Nice.
Final question, when can people play this?
So they can play it in October of this year.
That makes me so happy. That's
so
soon.
We're really excited, I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, a game I cannot wait to play. We have plenty more games coming up right here on IGN at Gamescom now. So
plans right now.
Were there ever conversations about making this one like actually flat 2D?
Yeah, there were. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's all sorts of things that we thought of that we could do with this, and different environments and worlds. There's like just so many ideas that you got to like pick the best ones, I guess.
Are you playing with the sort of depth? Like, are there background elements you can get to, or is this like a pretty straightforward?
It's pretty much straightforward 2D, but I guess one of the other interesting aspects about this game, so you've got the 2D levels, but this place that you can see here, this is called the Overworld, and you probably look at this and go, okay, you know, I get it, it's a map screen, but actually this is much more like a mini adventure game in its own right. So there's all sorts of characters to meet and interact with, there's loads of different locations to visit, there's puzzles to solve, there's secrets to find, and a bunch of the stuff you find in this overworld you can actually bring into the 2D levels, and a bunch of the stuff you do in the overworld changes the 2D levels. So you've got this kind of nice back and forth between playing these quite intense 2D levels, and then, you know, you can imagine you play a level, then another level, you kind of eventually get a bit stressed out, you know, your heart's going, and you want a bit of relax.
Right.
And the overworld is kind of a nice place to just, you know, sit back and just chill out and still make progress, but just not have to deal with buzzsaws and like a trillion enemies thrown at you and that kind of thing.
Now, a lot of the levels we've seen so far have been like wildly different from each other, which again, part of your studio's pedigree, I think, is like really cool. What kind of environments can players expect to see as the game continues?
Yeah, so there's all sorts of different locations. That was one of the key things for us. We didn't want to have a sort of repeating tile sets. We wanted players to feel like they were exploring this genuine world. So there's all sorts of locations. There's towns, as you can see here. There's a factory. There's even like blimps up in the sky. There's like countrysides. There's lots of like really idyllic and beautiful and colourful locations. And even as you can see in like a terrifying factory like this, we still try and have it as vibrant and colourful as possible because it's, you know, it's a Yooka-Laylee game. And that's one of the cool things about working on a game like this. It's like getting to make these crazy, colourful, vibrant worlds. It's just really awesome.
No, it's so much fun seeing you guys get creative and really, like you said, just kind of not get stuck in a rut. If you personally could take another sort of genre of game design to put Yooka-Laylee into, what would you do?
What would I do? Another genre.
Turn-based, first-person,
Western.
Yeah, first-person shooter, that would be good, wouldn't it? I mean, if you look at Banjo-Kazooie, they did that in the past, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So, you know, that would work, but I don't know.
You're not on the hook for it or anything, you know. I was just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, a kart race would be pretty cool, but definitely no promises.
Yeah, that'd be a good fit. Now, obviously, this is sort of a hard question when you have the last boss of the game immediately accessible. What's the sort of average play length you're seeing?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to sort of answer that, but I say if you think of like an average player just going through it, an average player at a sensible pace, I don't know, say maybe 20 hours worth of content, and then if you wanted to find everything, perhaps 30, something like that.
Cool.
Nice.
Final question, when can people play this?
So they can play it in October of this year.
That makes me so happy. That's
so
soon.
We're really excited, I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, a game I cannot wait to play. We have plenty more games coming up right here on IGN at Gamescom now, so don't go anywhere.
Fact. Different mechanics in the story with the day cycle.
Great. So we're running a little bit short on time, but tell me about the campaign length as well as kind of the progression in terms of how you're ramping up mechanics and narrative throughout the duration of the campaign.
Yeah. So in fact, we are. So the story takes place. It begins with just a normal life of those two kids, and they just have to save their father, and so. The game is divided in days, as I said, and the day is divided in two parts. So you got the morning part, where you have to equip yourself, you go to town, etc. And you got the night session. So here we are starting a night session. So when you go down the elevator, it's starting a night session. And during the night session, you can do all the dungeons you want, in fact. And it's only the equipment you bought the day before that would limit your progression. So when you get limited by your level, by your progression, you can say, okay, I got enough stuff, I'm just going to sleep, and I start another day. And the story, you get a lot of many different dungeons. You get some dungeons that will make the storyline advance. We got a lot of different bosses, we get a lot of different enemies, and we get a lot of different antagonists that will occur, that will have some different sense in the game.
That's very cool. You know, I have to say, like, you look at a side-scroll beat-em-up action game, and I think you think, well, this is very simple, but this is deceptively complex. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Jerome, Baptiste, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can definitely check out more Young Souls on IGN, so be sure to do that. The game looks awesome so far. And for Gamescom, don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back after this.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes! Introducing the all-new Up It Nude! Up It Nude's new and approved recipe is chock full of lists, let's plays, unboxings, special guests, goofs, guffaws, and other content too stupid for regular weekdays.
Like some sort of color-changing reptile stripper man. I'm doing it.
Don't touch it.
What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Ja, einfacher Sieg, mega easy. Wir sind jetzt in Halle 5.1. Ich habe die Leonie weggeschickt, die war einfach zu lame. Die hat einfach verloren, hat nicht verdient, nochmal vor der Kamera zu stehen, hier in dem Merchandise-Area. Deswegen werde ich euch einfach ein bisschen rumführen.
Haha, nicht so leicht, Adil. Du hast meine Fallenkarte aktiviert und es ist Zeit für ein Duell. Ich möchte eine Revanche. Bist du bereit dafür?
Ich bin bereit, dass du nochmal verlierst. Diesmal gehe ich es ein bisschen langsam an. Ich glaube, um Leonie zu schlagen, brauche ich einfach nur eine Scheißtasse. Also wirklich einfach eine Scheißtasse. Und das Geilste an der Scheißtasse, da ist auch noch Scheiße drin. Das heißt, Cornflakes, Suppe, was auch immer, dieses kleine Häufchen Elend wird euch immer begleiten. Und das finde ich super weird. Eigentlich hatte ich vor, noch viel abgefahrene Dinge zu suchen als Leonie, aber ganz ehrlich, ich werde konstant abgelenkt von diesen geilen Figuren, gerade die großen. Hier haben wir zum Beispiel den Praise the Sun Dude von Dark Souls oder auch Solid Snake von Metal Gear Solid. Ich kann da einfach keinen klaren Kopf bewahren, da ist so viel geiler Kram hier in Halle 5.1 und 5.2. Ich kann mich einfach nicht konzentrieren, da ist zu viel krasser Kram dabei. Also unbedingt mal auschecken, lohnt sich auf jeden Fall, alleine um es mal gesehen zu haben. Ich kann mich einfach nicht konzentrieren, da ist zu viel krasser Kram.
So there was a part on the show where they talked about speed running in Ukulele, and I didn't get that recorded, and I gotta go now, but hopefully